Hello, my wonderful, beautiful, beloved Patreon supporters. I am coming to you on April 18th, a Friday, although I'm not sure exactly when this video will be uploaded. My birthday is just under a week away, so I wanted to do a little bit of a life update, and I thought that I don't necessarily want to put this out to the general public. I think I'm going to make it available to just my Patreon supporters. I also would like to put this out in a fairly raw, unedited format if I can manage to get through my thoughts relatively coherently, mostly because, as you'll find out shortly, I'm struggling a bit with time and energy recently, so it'd be nice not to put too many hours into this kind of simple life update. When I was thinking about this a little while back, I was expecting this to be a more positive update. However, the past couple weeks have been quite a challenge, and so I'm going to spend a bit of time whining at you, which, it's not necessarily how I want to approach the people who do so much for me. I almost feel like it should be the opposite. This video should now be only available to the general public, and my Patreon folks who financially support me shouldn't have to sit through me getting stuff off my chest. But here I am. Here you are. I'm glad you're here. Basically, the rundown of what's kind of getting me down, to be honest, is a couple weeks ago I was in a pretty decent place. I was feeling relatively happy about where things were at in life. I knew I had a couple of big financial expenses coming up, but I had managed to actually put away a little bit of money. So I knew my income taxes were coming up due. I knew that my younger son, Wyatt, has to get some orthodontic work done. So we've taken him to one orthodontist to get a quote, which of course is many thousands of dollars. A good chunk of which is covered by work benefits, but several $1,000s will have to be out of pocket from both my ex-wife and I. I'll be taking him to another orthodontist for another kind of second opinion and another quote to see how much it differs, but I knew these were coming up. I was feeling pretty good that I had put away enough money to cover both of those items, both the income taxes and the orthodontist work. And then things just kind of started going sideways. So like I said, today is a Friday. Just to go through a pretty quick rundown of my past couple of weeks, 2 Mondays ago I was working out at the gym and I messed up my back. Just, I don't have the best back in general because of the 16 years I spent carrying people around on stretchers. My back is not in great shape, but I did a number to it at the gym 2 Mondays ago. Then the following day, on the Tuesday, I had to drop $3,000 on my car after experiencing my first breakdown in my 2017 Nissan, which really wiped out a good chunk of the money I had set aside for these expenses I was just talking about. Then the Wednesday to Sunday, my older son Evan was sick. He's been taking an injectable medication for his allergies and eczema issues, which also suppresses his immune system, so when he gets sick it's a bit of a challenge. And then last Monday I had to drop another $225 on a toilet to replace the last toilet in this house that I have not replaced since we purchased it about 15 or so years ago. So carrying a 90-pound box with a new toilet into the house was a bit of a challenge with the back issues, but I managed to do that. Then the next day, on the Tuesday, did my income taxes, found out that the total owing was about $4,000, of which I had previously paid $1,600 in installments, so I still had $2,400 to pay for that, which, yeah, I knew that was going to be a thing, but I didn't know I wouldn't have the money thanks to my car and house issues. Then the next day, the Thursday, I had to go to a lab for some blood work, and then I had to basically cut a lot of my hair off because of another appointment that's coming up. So today I'm sitting down to record this video. After this, I'm going to record a video for my games played in the month of March. And then Saturday evening, my boys will be back here with me for Sunday, Monday. On Monday, I do have to go to my next appointment, which is a dermatologist, to look at some areas of my skin that are somewhat concerning. I've had a couple areas that have been bleeding and very irritated, and there's some concern about skin cancer. So 3 months ago, I got this appointment with a dermatologist. There's a bit of a waiting list to get in, so I've been kind of sitting here wondering if I have skin cancer or not. I get to find out on Monday what the dermatologist thinks. Then the next day on Tuesday, I have another doctor's appointment. This time I have to go to my family doctor to get my disability paperwork up to date. Just the latest pile of paperwork that the insurance company makes you fill out. All the hoops they make you jump through because they don't want to keep paying disability, obviously. Then the day after that, I have to take my younger son Wyatt to his orthodontist appointment. So, as always, my big stressors in life are health, with my own physical and mental health. My kids both have their own physical and mental health issues. And then the sort of side effects of that for me being the chronic fatigue, the chronic pain. So that's been challenging to, in the midst of all that, obviously I have to keep up with everything else that goes along with having a house and being a single dad, all the cleaning and cooking and video editing for my channel and all that sort of stuff. So I'm sitting here today on the Friday of Easter weekend, and the rest of my family is getting together for Easter, but I decided to skip out on the occasion this time around. Yes, I am pretty overwhelmed and fatigued and quite depressed, but I still would have probably gotten together with them, except for where they're meeting. It's over an hour drive to get there and then over an hour drive back, and I just don't have money to burn that much gas for my car, to be honest with you. I just didn't feel good about the expense of just traveling back and forth, so decided to just focus on getting some videos made so I can keep up with my channel stuff here. So, you know, the financial side of things are why I am so grateful to all of you who are supporting me in this way. I don't want any more money from any of you. What you give me is so generous already, but you know, just as somebody to get stuff off my chest and talk to you, I will say it's such a struggle. I think I am pretty good with money, insofar as I don't carry any debt besides my mortgage on my house. I don't have car payments because my car is fully paid off. I don't carry credit card debt, nothing, even though my monthly income and my monthly expenses are uncomfortably close to being the same number. I do live frugally and do manage to, in normal circumstances, put a little bit of money away so that when the big expenses come up, I'm able to pay them off without going into debt. However, this time around, I have no choice but to put several $1,000s, I think, on the credit card, which is an overwhelming feeling because once you start getting into that cycle, you get into high interest debt, then what little bit of money you have towards paying off that debt is barely enough to keep up with the interest, and so that becomes a long-term escalating problem if you can't come up with a way of paying it off more quickly. So, you know, in order to continue debt-free up to this point, even with rising prices overall, I've made changes in terms of reducing my monthly expenses by stopping all of my monthly memberships to things like Netflix and Costco, and even something like a premium membership on Board Game Arena, or my membership with the Indigo Chapters bookstore. Basically anything that was a monthly subscription, I've eliminated it in order to be able to keep up and be financially responsible. What's tough now, though, with this extra debt added to my credit card is I'm kind of running out of things to chop off of my expenses. There's not much else I can cut back on in order to save that extra money. So it's going to be a challenge for me to figure out how to deal with that. In the past, I've done little jobs, I've gone on this app that allows you to be kind of a secret shopper, where they give you a location, like a grocery store or something, where you go in, you take photos of their shelves, you write some comments and stuff, and you get a few dollars for it. But the hourly rate of work like that is probably less than $5 an hour. So it's a lot of hours that I don't have, a lot of energy that I don't have to match the amount of debt that I'm starting to accumulate now. So yeah, and it's extra tough with the birthday coming up. It's always nice to treat yourself a little bit on your birthday, but I just gotta be frugal and do what I can to find some enjoyment here at home, I suppose. I will be on my own. My kids won't be with me, so I'll just be kind of hanging out, maybe playing some video games or something. I attempted to put together a game day for my birthday. So my original plan was to get myself, my youngest brother, who of my 3 younger brothers, he's the biggest into board gaming. I was going to get him, my friend Paul, and 2 of my younger brother's friends together to play a game of Chaos in the Old World with the Horned Rat expansion, with that wildly enhanced version that I've created, where I basically replaced almost all the game components. I talked about that in another video in the past. So the plan was to have the 5 of us play that, and then have even more people join us in the evening for a game of Texas Hold'em No Limit Texas Hold'em Poker, because that's just been something I've been craving to do for a while. Just play a fun little cash game with friends for 25-50 cent blinds, minimal money on the table, but just kind of a fun poker night. However, after some time, it became quite clear that, first of all, I couldn't get enough people together for the poker part of things. So that part was canceled, and then that left just maybe five people for a board gaming day, but even that isn't really working out, so I'm going to end up canceling that as well. I've kind of discovered that it's a little bit hard to organize a game day when you don't really have friends. It's a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is that my youngest brother is still interested in coming down just to do some 2-player gaming, which is great. So I recently picked up a game called A Jest of Robin Hood that I will try to learn the rules, and hopefully we can try that out and do some other 2-player gaming. So at least it's something is happening. It's not a complete write-off. I will say that board gaming in general has pretty much ground to a stop, other than an occasional game with my kids. Because, as you probably know, if you've been watching my videos, I really only have one adult gaming friend who I game with regularly, my friend Paul, but both he and I have both been separately having our own issues with health stuff and life stuff, and we haven't gotten together at all to play games in the month of March or the month of April so far, and it feels like, in a way, that life is kind of pushing us into our own little survival holes, and like other friendships have gone, it feels like this one's kind of fading away. So I don't know what's going to happen with my board gaming hobby going forward, like I said, other than a bit of gaming with my kids. Hopefully this coming weekend, when my boys are here, at least on Sunday, like I said, I have the appointment Monday, but another game that arrived that I had kickstarted in the past was a game called Agamemnia, something like that. It's a huge fantasy campaign game, somewhat comparable to Gloomhaven, and that is a gigantic box with a campaign spanning dozens of scenarios with tons of content and stuff like that. So that arrived, and I've been trying to get through the rule books for that game, and maybe my boys and I will be able to play through one or two of the initial introductory scenarios. What do they call it? Tutorial scenarios, I guess. It'd be nice if we get a chance to do that Sunday, and if the kids end up liking that game, that's going to provide us a lot of fun gaming going forwards. It's quite a rules-heavy game, I'm discovering, so as long as I can get those rules down pretty well, then I can at least guide the game for my kids, but we'll see how that goes. So, yeah, I guess there's at least a couple fun things coming up over the next several days if it works out, so that my birthday isn't entirely eventless, I suppose. I got that gaming with my boys, and then some two-player gaming with my younger brother coming, which we're going to do early May because of schedule stuff. So anyways, yeah, that's my 49th birthday, and that means that my 50th birthday is coming up in just over a year, which I guess is a big, I don't know, it's funny, it's just a number, right? But obviously 50 seems like a eventful occasion. It is funny. I've never really worried at all about my age. It's never really been a thing that I've given much thought to. But for some reason, 50 feels different. It feels like, okay, now I'm old. There's something about that number, and I haven't given much thought to how I want to mark that occasion. But I was browsing around, somehow stumbled across this. Well, first of all, there's this punk rock music festival that I heard about a year or two ago called Punk Rock Holiday, which takes place in Slovenia in Europe, in a place called Tolmin, Slovenia. It's happening early August this year, and it just looks like such a super fun, amazing punk rock festival. And so, you know, when I first learned about it, in the back of my mind, I was like, wow, that'd be kind of a fun thing to do if I ever had money someday. And then more recently, I found this other punk rock festival called Punk Rock Raduno, which is in Bergamo, Italy, which is relatively close to Milan, up in northern Italy there. And I was looking at that one, and it's more of this feels like more of a smaller independent festival with smaller independent punk bands. They don't seem to draw in much in the way of big name bands, but the overall festival just looks so amazing. It looks like the type of kind of smaller festival that would be really special to attend, and it's happening in later July. So when I saw that, I looked up where in Italy that was, and then I kind of realized, wait, this place Bergamo is on this highway, where you get on the highway, you follow a highway called E70 East, and that takes you directly to Slovenia, because this place, Tolmin, Slovenia, is just across the border from Italy, and you can practically get from one festival to the next just by following this one highway. And this kind of fantasy popped into my mind where, like, hey, you know what? For my 50th birthday, what if I can save enough money to get a plane ticket to Europe and get these 2 festival tickets, and somehow figure out a way to, I don't know, survive in a tent, go to the Italian punk rock festival, then hitchhike this highway over to Slovenia, and again, trying to live for minimal cost in my tent and whatever food I can scrounge. And I was like, well, this is kind of what went through my head until I started thinking more practically about the fact that there's no way in hell I'll have any money this time next year, let alone money to do this kind of traveling. Plus, with my health, the idea of me at 50 years old trying to live out of a tent on the road with my Crohn's disease, my other health issues, I'm like, I need to be within a 10-second sprint of my flush toilet at all times, ideally. So being in a tent hitchhiking on the highway is not going to be a practical idea for me, I don't think. So this was just kind of a dream that flitted through my mind. And then I also thought, even if I did have the money somehow, I would have much more long-term pleasure, I think, if I were to spend it on building my own PC and finally, for the first time in my entire life, buying myself a brand new computer so that I can play my video games that require bigger computing, such as the flight simulators and car racing games that my current laptop doesn't handle very well. And so I thought, well, you know, even if I had the money in some crazy dream world, I'd probably rather just build a computer. In any case, neither thing is going to end up happening, I don't think. I'm not sure what, if anything, I'll end up doing for my 50th next year. Like I said, I could barely put together something for my 49th this year. So, yeah, I think that's about all I was going to talk about for life update and birthday stuff and weather or whatever. So happy birthday to me.